Good afternoon, everyone. How are you all today?
Good, you?
Doing well. Can everyone hear me all right?
We can.
Okay, perfect. And I'm assuming you guys can see the screen. It should have the title of today's training and a QR code for attendance. There's also a link to the survey for attendance in the chat. So if you'll fill that out, especially our new teachers who are doing this to finish up their new teacher training, if you will go ahead and fill that out so we know that you are here. Oh, David, I'm sorry. I probably posted it before you got here. Putting it back in the chat. Okay, well, we'll go ahead and get started. And just a little bit of a, not a warning, but kind of a precursor to our training. If you are a veteran teacher, a lot of this is going to be familiar to you. I did build it with new teachers in mind. However, I do hope that all of our teachers who are here today can get something out of what we're presenting. So just a little bit before we go in. And we will be recording today, and we will post this on our YouTube channel. So if anyone's asking, they can find it on our OK Be My YouTube channel later, and also on our Oklahoma BPA website. Okay, so we'll go ahead and get started. Okay, so this is how to BPA all day, August through May. If you don't know me, I'm Paxton Caven, the BPA State Advisor. So before we do get started, I know the title of this is a little misleading because we definitely all know that a successful BPA year and experience is 365 days of the year, hence the new initiative from National BPA, BPA 365. However, this training is specific to especially our new teachers to try to help them get through this first school year, August through May, as a new teacher. And we're going to take you through some steps that you can do and talk you through a few things that might make life a little bit easier. Okay, so before we do get started, some of our upcoming important dates. Remember that FLC registration is due on September 10th. That is going to be so that we can guarantee that you all get kits and things like that before FLC starts. That is $30 per person. And if you have trouble finding that link, if you will just let me know. And also, don't forget that FLC is open for all students, whether they're members or not. So I have a few schools who are registering all of their students if they can afford it or if the students want to pay. That way they can use it as a recruitment tool. Trading pin designs, so for the pins that we trade at nationals, the design for those is due on September 28th. From there, the state officers will pick their top 3, and then the membership who attends FLC will get to vote on the pin that gets created and then traded at NLC. The Chain of Love submissions are due on September 30th, and we have a special way that we're going to be doing Chain of Love this year that's different than years past. So obviously, not all of our schools are meeting in person. We can't meet somewhere to hang up the chains, the paper chains to display them at FLC. So what we're doing this year is you can go ahead and still collect your money like you would as a chapter. We're still going to award the top 3 chapters that raise the most money for Special Olympics, and we are actually going to be building digital chains online, kind of in live time if you update me with your earnings so that schools can have some healthy competition there. FLC is October 5th. Remember, it is virtual, and that's going to be scheduled from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. that day. And then we have an extra FLC event. It is our post-live session where we're going to be giving out awards for trivia winners. We'll be recognizing our Special Olympics Chain of Love winners and things like that. And that'll be October 15th at 6 p.m. So if you wanted to plan chapter watch parties via Zoom, or if students wanted to watch it with their families, they could. So there's some options there. And we'll be giving out more information to those who attend FLC on that date.
Paxton, we have a question. Will you explain to them what the Chain of Love
is, please?
So Chain of Love is BPA's service project that we do in the fall. It raises money for Oklahoma Special Olympics. And so in the past, what schools have done is they all structure it differently depending on their chapter, but they'll sell links to paper chains. So just strips of paper, some of them decorate them in their school colors, some just use construction paper. And the price varies as well. So you could sell a link for $1, you could sell it for 25 cents, whatever works for your school. And then you put the chains together, and last year we started displaying them kind of hung up in the hallways at FLC, so it was really neat. You got to bring your chain to FLC, display it so that people could see it, and then when you submit them on the 30th, we'll take the top 3 monetary submissions, and we place them first, second, third, and they get a plaque for their school. You can also put this towards BPA Cares, you can put it towards torch points. So it kind of works in a variety of different ways, but it really benefits Oklahoma Special Olympics. So hopefully that answers your question. It is not required, but encouraged. So Nicole, does that answer what you were thinking? Okay, perfect. Okay, any other questions about the dates that are coming up? Okay, feel free to stop me at any point if you have questions today. We have plenty of time to make sure that you leave feeling comfortable with the rest of the school year. Okay, so I know that's a lot of information, and there's some things that we have to talk about first. So don't forget that the National BPA website is bpa.org. So that's where you're going to find information about National BPA. The Oklahoma BPA website is bpaok.org. So there's a few things that I would like to run by you all. You don't have to answer out loud. You can put it in the chat if you want to, but just so that I can gauge where you're at in your chapter. So first, have you logged into the chapter membership site? Can you log into the chapter membership site? So think about that if you've done that. If you haven't, now is the time to start doing that. Maybe this week, make that a goal. Have you checked out the BPA Gateway? As a local advisor, you have full access to it even before you submit your membership. Your members will have access to it once they are registered paid members. So if you haven't checked out the BPA Gateway, I encourage you to do so. Have you talked to your students about BPA? If you haven't started talking to your students just a little bit about BPA, maybe make that a goal this week or even early next week to start doing. Start introducing them to BPA, what it's about, all of that. We should have our promo video in the next couple of weeks. So that will be something we'll roll out to you all and you're welcome to use. Have you registered your members? If you have, you're ahead of the game. I know that school started late. So if you have started registering members, you are on top of things. And I know Suzanne says she's registered her members for both FLC and membership dues. And I want to give a shout out to Suzanne because she was very patient with the new membership system. And we worked through some issues with her that the system was causing glitches wise. So thank you, Suzanne, for being patient and for being on top of things this year. And then have you thought about or plan to go to FLC? So if you haven't even thought about FLC, I encourage you to go to the BPA website, the Oklahoma BPA website, go to the conference tab, go right underneath there to the Fall Leadership Conference, check out the page, show it to your students, think about going. Like we've talked about before, this is a one-fee conference. It's $30 and your students can attend. They don't have to worry about hotel costs or transportation costs or lunch costs while they're there. So let them, I mean, you can register as many members as you want. They don't have to be paid members. They can just be students in your classroom. Think outside the box. I have one advisor who has arranged with a restaurant in her town that has free Wi-Fi, and they're going to get to go there and social distance and be together to watch and participate in FLC. We have some advisors who are renting their, or I guess scheduling out their libraries or gyms so that they can be socially distant, but also participate together as a chapter with their individual devices. There are so many ways that we can pull this off. And if you have questions on how to do that, let me know and I can help walk you through what's going on at your school and how we can make FLC work the very best for your chapter. Okay, so any questions about any of this? These are things that you should have on your radar in the next couple of weeks for sure. These are important to get the membership year started. And if you do have questions about any of these, I am more than happy to answer them now or in an email if you have kind of extensive questions too. Okay, we'll move on. Remember though, if you have questions, just to stop me. And again, here's my email address if you don't have it and my office phone number. You can grab those if you need them. Okay, so today, kind of like the title hints at, we're going to go through a monthly to-do list. And so what I've done, there is a monthly to-do list on ctu.org, and the pathway to that is right below the check it out phrase. So if you go to ctu.org, log in, go to Be My Teacher Academy 2020, then there's a monthly to-do list option right there. So this is one that the Be My staff has built out. It has things that are Be My related, it has things that are BPA related. So it's a really comprehensive to-do list on CTU. What I'm doing today, have broken it out into really basic steps month by month so that you know just what you should be doing as a BPA advisor. And then we've taken it a little bit farther. And each month I'm going to give you some overachiever goals for each month to see if you want to take it a little bit further, if you have time, great. If you want to try a little bit more, you can. So let's go ahead and dig in. Okay, so August. Obviously, it's September. Don't worry if you haven't accomplished these things. This is a weird year. So if you need to do these this month, that's fine. Okay, so before school starts, it would be best if you could kind of brainstorm about how you can structure your chapter this year. Are you going to be charging chapter dues? What does your activity finances look like? Do you have to fundraise, or does your school provide you with activity fees? So just check your school's policies before the school year starts. That way you know exactly kind of what your money is going to look like for the school year for your chapter. If you are new to your school and your chapter, I can't stress this enough because we come across this all the time. Check with me, check with National BPA to make sure that you don't have any financial holds on your chapter account. Because if you do, this is going to keep you from being able to register members. It's going to keep you from being able to participate in things. Sometimes it even prevents me from being able to update your contact information in the membership system because you have a hold and BPA wants their money. So, and most likely you have no idea what this is from. It's probably some weird amount like $9. So we just need to figure it out and get it paid or talk with National so that we can work that out. So if you're new to a school, always check that out. You never know how the last person left it. Once school starts, introduce BPA to all of your students. And I would encourage you just to kind of have a blanket elevator speech and just proposal for all of your classes. So just kind of talk it up to your students, see what they think, introduce them to the websites, the YouTube channels, the social media pages, all of that so that they can start getting a taste of what BPA is like. And then I would encourage you to plan a fun activity to get your students excited for BPA. This doesn't have to be for members. Remember, you're trying to recruit members. So plan something fun. In a virtual world, it could be something like a trivia night. There's several different trivia things that you can do via Zoom. There's some that you can build on your own if you wanted it to be classroom related. There's also ones that are kind of pre-built if you wanted it to be fun, like pop culture or TV shows, anything. So. Okay, so this is kind of basic August stuff to kind of get your chapter rolling. And then on our next slide, we have our overachiever August things. So if you come into a school and they haven't elected officers, go ahead and elect them as soon as you can. On my next slide for September's basic, it's gonna say elect officers. You have to have an officer team. But if you're overachieving in your new school, go ahead and elect your officers in August. Plan a member recruitment drive. Take it one step further than just, talking to them in class and a trivia game. Plan a whole drive, advertise for it. In a normal year, posters. This year, schedule some panels where you can talk to the students and things like that. I know we have some teachers who have set up the Bitmoji classrooms that are BPA everywhere. They have the logos, and they have different posters and themes, all of that. So think creatively about your situation and how you can recruit members to your chapter and plan a drive. Plan ahead for FLC. So most likely, every August, you're going to have information about FLC. You can start thinking, am I going to be taking my students to FLC? Does it conflict with something? Can I get a sub? Do I need to arrange for transportation? How much does it cost? That kind of thing. Start working on your chapter's program of work, especially if you've already elected officers. You want them to be involved in this. However, you can start brainstorming what you might be recommending to them to be on the program of work. The program of work blank copy can be found on the Oklahoma BPA website under Information Library and Advisor Quick Links. And I'll show you those again later. And then if you have some time and you want to be an overachiever in August, read through the local chapter handbook. And so in the past, it hasn't been being updated from year to year. However, that is changing. So every year they'll be making some minor edits to it. Most likely they'll be highlighting what the changes are, kind of like what's new in the WASP. You'll kind of get a what's new in the local chapter handbook. So you don't have to read the whole thing. But if you haven't ever read the local chapter handbook, I encourage you to do so. You can access it through the membership gateway, and you can also access it in the membership portal where you register your members. It's one of the resources that National BPA has loaded there. Okay, and then if you want to be a super overachiever in August, go ahead and set up, if you can, some social media presence for your chapters. Follow the Oklahoma BPA account, follow the national officers. If you're setting up Twitter, follow our state officers. There's a lot of things that you can do, and that will help us kind of stay up on what you're doing. It helps promote your chapter. You know, you can follow your school, your town, all of that, and all of it's for just good press for your chapter. Okay, questions about August? Oh, awesome. Suzanne said they had officer campaigns today. Very cool. Awesome. That sounds like and she puts a resource in there. I'm probably going to say this wrong. The Voki avatars for visual aids. Very cool. Awesome, Suzanne. Okay, we'll move on to September. And again, if you're behind with the August stuff, don't worry. It's a weird year. Okay, so September, start collecting your membership dues. Start talking to the students who are interested. Don't let them think that it's free, you know, unless you're just using your 412 affiliation fee if you're a funded high school program or middle school. That way they know what they're committing. So start talking to them about what it's going to cost to BPA so you don't lose them when that happens. But start doing that so you can get membership submitted. Elect your officers. So if you're starting with a blank slate, they haven't had officers in a while, you don't know what's going on with this chapter, at least try to elect a president, vice president, and secretary. You can add more than this. You can use the state officer team as a reference of what offices to add, but at least try to have those three so that they have some jobs to do and can run your meetings. Start talking to your students about FLC ahead of the registration deadline. That way you're not panicking when registration is due because you want to attend this conference. And then start making plans to attend. So do you need a sub? Do you need to arrange for travel? Obviously not this year, so don't arrange for travel this year. Do you need to book a hotel? All of these different things. You need to order food one day. Start thinking about all the logistics that it will take for you to be away from your classroom with your chapter, and start thinking about those in September, and it will make October a little bit easier. Okay, so hold a meeting or two, depending on what's kind of going on. I would encourage you to have at least monthly meetings, and you can do those virtually or in person. Create a program of work. Let your officer team be involved in this. You no longer have to send it into our office, but we do want you to have it and you know, fill it out. And basically, remember, a program of work is a yearly goals list in a sense. What are you going to do? Are you going to have a canned food drive in November? Are you going to have a monthly meeting? Are you going to elect officers in May this year? That kind of thing. And if you miss something, it's not the end of the world. It's just kind of to help you set goals for the year and expectations. Okay, students will need to sign a code of conduct, and I have gotten a few questions this year with FLC being virtual, and the answer is you need to sign the code of conduct every year. Even with us being virtual, we still want the students to follow the code of conduct in our virtual conference. So the students will sign the code of conduct. You can find it in the Advisor Quick Link section of the Oklahoma BPA website under the Information Library. And then after they sign their code of conduct, you will then fill out and sign a statement of assurance and send that to Pamela Porter. And that is found in the exact same place. It's right next to the Code of Conduct. Okay. Okay, so if you want to be an overachiever in September, start watching the National BPA webinars. Most likely they've started rolling some out. I think they maybe have 1 or 2 on the website now. Members can access that via the member gateway. And remember, that's their one-stop shop this year. And you, as advisors, can go ahead and look at it as well, because you can see what the students see. Check out the National WASP when released. Fun fact, it was released yesterday. So we will be taking the WASP and customizing it for Oklahoma. The Oklahoma version will be out most likely in October, early October, hopefully, so that you can start planning for state conference. We don't change any of the topics or anything like that. What we will be adding is if we have an event that's pre-submitted but Nationals doesn't pre-submit it, those are the types of things we'll be adding. So the content won't change, just some of the requirements for pre-submits testing, that will change. Okay, you can request a state officer chapter visit. The state officers have sent out buddy chapter emails. You probably, hopefully got them this week. If not, let me know. We'll make sure that you've been added to the list. Ask for them to come visit your chapter. This year they can do that virtually so easily. They've already been on one and they kind of talked up BPA. They did a promo, all of that. So if you want them to do something fun with your students, an icebreaker or an about me, this is why I joined BPA, they can do that. If you want them to help with an officer installation or a torch ceremony, we can make it happen. So if you're interested in that, let me know. There's a form on the website and it is under the SEC tab. It's in several places, but the SEC tab, and then if you go down to chapter visit form, you fill that out. It gives me all the information I need to know to plan that and send it on, and we can get an officer to your chapter. Okay, you might start fundraising in September depending on what your school can do. Does your board have to approve your fundraisers? Go ahead and get those approved early so that you're not waiting last minute to start a fundraiser and your board needs to meet. You know, think about the things that you want to do with the year. Look at your program of work. Are you going to need money? So think about how you're going to fundraise. I don't have any amazing tips on how to fundraise virtually this year, but as we start getting those and start getting ideas of what other schools are doing and what's successful, we will definitely add them to our virtual resources page. If you haven't signed up for the source, I encourage you to do so. And I can make sure that I send you all an email on how to sign up for the source. That is BPA's monthly newsletter from National BPA. And it details out a lot of important information about what's going on nationally, deadlines coming up, new opportunities, things like that. So I encourage you to sign up for the source. And it's just 1 email a month, I promise. It's not crazy. Download the National Membership Theme artwork. Again, this is on the member gateway, and they have both the JPEG and the PNG files. You can download them. We also have some files to download on the Oklahoma BPA website, so you can grab them there too. There's a download center under the information library tab. Okay, so then sign up to take the advisor certification series when it's released. They release it at different times every year. Usually it's early in the fall because they want you to be able to schedule out the dates. So the advisor certification series is a really valuable thing for both new advisors and veteran advisors. And it kind of talks to you all the way from what is BPA, what do I need to be doing as a chapter advisor, what are opportunities, and it gives you a well-rounded look at what being a chapter advisor really looks like. So I encourage you to do that. If you do it and you complete all of the webinars, all of the chats, and all of the quizzes by their deadline, then you get recognized at nationals, and I think you get a certificate and things like that too. So that's really awesome. Questions about September? Okay, yes, perfect, Nicole. If you'll just send me an email, I'll make sure I get you added to the list. Okay, we'll move on to October. So in October, I definitely want to encourage you to attend FLC, whether it is virtual like it is this year or in person. Go ahead and attend FLC and enjoy it. It's a really fun conference. It's one day of excellent leadership opportunities. And honestly, this year is going to be so amazing for your students, for you. As advisors, I encourage you to participate in it. I think it's going to help you all communicate as a chapter. I think it's going to help you build out your year. It's going to be a great opportunity for everyone. So then finish submitting your membership if you haven't done that yet. Work with your finance office. Every school seems to do it differently on how they send in money and the documents they need. So work with your finance office at your school to send in the payment. Remember that membership goes to national BPA. They take both state and national dues, and then they'll actually send us a check for our state dues. So send all membership money to national BPA. And there's the address is in the membership site, and it's also on our OKBPA website as well, and it is the Westerville, Ohio address. If you have questions, just email me. Be sure to hold a meeting in October. Start discussing competition and torch award. By now, the Oklahoma WASP will be out, which is the Workplace Skills Assessment Program. Remember, that's our competitive guide. And the torch awards program with your students. See, are they going to compete? Are they going to do torch? Are they going to do both? If you are a teacher that just hands your students the WASP guide and has them look through it, that's what my advisor in high school did, then let them go ahead and start looking through it. That way they can start seeing what competitions they're interested in. Some advisors, they'll pick a section or a few that they're comfortable helping their students with or that are related to their classes, and they give those to their students to look at, and that's fine too. However you want to do it for your chapter, that is your choice. So but if you start it early, they can start preparing early, and that may help your chapter do a little bit better in competition. And then torch award is never too early to start torch awards. And with the new membership gateway, it is going to be so much easier to chart and track those torch awards for your students, that they can do it all year long. And it's not going to be one big 3-hour-long session of typing all of that into an application. Let's see, participate in the National BPA programming and offering. I know that this year they're planning so much for our students because of kind of the virtual environment that we're in. I think we're going to be seeing a lot of student training opportunities available through National BPA. So be watching the source, be watching what I kind of forward. Look at social media, check out the BPA membership gateway and the website. They are able to send pop-ups to you, so read those pop-ups. They may be advertising for a training that BPA is pushing out. I just know they're going to be providing a lot of student and advisor-focused trainings at a national level this year. Okay, and then continue to work through your program of work. As you've started the year now, you have your officers, you've attended FLC, maybe you need to make changes to your program of work, and that's completely fine. If you guys have thought about something you had planned that is just not going to work after you attended FLC and they have brand new ideas, change it. It's not the end of the world. We want this to be something that your chapter can work with and can really thrive with. Okay, overachiever goals for October. Look into the BPA Cares program. Now, I would love to have the BPA Cares program on kind of the basic duties for every chapter. However, I know that you guys are crazy busy, especially in your first year. BPA Cares is not incredibly hard to do. I would encourage all of you to do it. It gets some awards for your chapter. There are several different awards that you can do. If you have questions about those, let me know, and we can walk you through all of them. So look into the BPA Cares program, start planning competitions with your interested members, host a community event. The best way to get BPA involved in the community and to let your community know that BPA exists is to host an event that has to deal with your community. Let them know that you're there. Let them see what a great presence BPA is and what they can do for the community. If in an election year, like this year, you can plan to hold mock elections, and you can gain a ton of torch points in the hardest category to get torch points in, which is patriotism. So if you are interested in doing torch and your students are doing torch this year, I really, really encourage you all to either help with a mock election or host a mock election at your school, and you can, your students can all gain some really major torch points for that. Talk to your students about running for state office. Remember that state officer applications are going to be due on December 1st this year. So start talking about it early. It's a big application. This way they can get prepared and they're not overwhelmed if they're interested in that. And then make arrangements to attend the Oklahoma BPA boot camp. That'll be held in November this year. So start making arrangements for a sub, or if you're going to attend, there was a registration fee last year for food, that kind of thing. So just make sure that you're making arrangements for that. And we'll be producing information for that closer to the boot camp date. Okay, questions about October? Okay, perfect. And Jackie's added to the chat that helping with a Veterans Day program is a great way to get some patriotism points as well. Okay, perfect. Any other questions about October? Okay, we'll move on. Okay, so November, attend the BPA bootcamp. Now, this is not just for new teachers. Last year, we really dove into Torch, we dove into BPA Cares, and we started talking about competitions. I plan to structure it the same way this year. In the afternoon, we sat down with advisors and just individually walked them through their competition questions. So if you just want to look at graphic design promotion for the mid-level, we'll do that. I will sit down with you and we'll walk through all of the steps so that you can write down when you need to pre-submit, when or if your student needs to test, when your competition date is, all of that, so that you feel comfortable assisting your students through that process. So whether we do that virtually or in person, plan to attend that, and it'll be in November. It is on November 17th this year, and it'll be in Stillwater if it is in person. So then fill out an application if you're running for state office. You do not want to wait to do this. This is not a night before process. There are signatures involved, recommendation letters. So if your student is running for a state officer position, start early to fill out the application. It will save stress on everybody's side. Work on Torch with your students. Again, this is kind of a process that should be going on all year to make it as easy as possible. And then, continue working with your students on their WASP competitions. So by now they should at least be looking at the WASP guide to know what they want to compete in, start narrowing it down. If they need to study for something, start studying that way. If they have to start building a project, they can, and they're not wasting time. So the more time you devote to your WASP competitions, the better they will be. Hold a meeting. Don't forget to be doing that monthly. And on that, I haven't written it anywhere, but make sure your secretary is keeping minutes of all of your meetings so that you know that they exist. We have some sample minutes on the website as well. So in November, I think it would be best if you guys would find your testing liaison for your state BPA testing. Go ahead and start doing this early. A lot of schools will use their media specialists or their counselors. You can use another teacher. The only people who cannot be testing liaisons are non-school personnel advisors, or like your co-advisors. So if you have 2 or 3 advisors at your school and you may be the main BPA advisor, you cannot be the testing liaison, and those other BPA advisors cannot be the testing liaison either. So find someone in your school to help with that. And basically they're just monitoring and proctoring those online tests that we do in January and February for certain BPA competitions. You do have to fill out the testing liaison form every year. So even when you go to the testing liaison that's been the testing liaison for the last 5 years, and they say, I know I filled out that form last year, just let them know politely that they need to fill it out again so that we have correct data. That way we know if their email has changed, we know if their phone number has changed, maybe they've gotten married. You never know. So let us know every single year who your testing liaison will be, and that just makes sure that I'm not sending passwords to someone who works at another school now and has no idea what I'm sending them passwords for. Okay, moving on to overachievers in November. Okay, so if you want to overachieve in November, you can start planning social events for the holiday season. Is your chapter going to do something fun together? Are you going to do something with maybe another CTSO and join up and do something big? Decide if your chapter will be participating in any community service events. You've most likely already done this on your program of work, but let's say that you were really vague and just put community service in November and December. Start narrowing down what that community service is going to look like. Are you going to help with a canned food drive? Are you going to raise money to buy toys for somebody? Start looking at what you're going to be doing for that if your chapter is doing that. Okay, sign into ctu.org and you can download the practice test that we have available. If you log in and you don't have access, it's just a quick email to our office and we can make sure that you have access to that. We have provided several years past regional tests that your students can download and practice through CTU. So take advantage of that. It's included in your membership fees and they're completely free. They're on CTU. And we do have a link to those in the information library so that you don't have to kind of go through all the pathways of CTU, but you have to be logged in. Continue working on your BPA cares. Remember, they are not terribly hard to achieve. So if you continue working on them, I'm confident that you all can definitely reach the BPA care certification this year in several different areas. You could plan a multi-chapter event and invite the SEC, the state officers, for a Q&A about running for office. So this is actually something that happened last year and it was really successful. We actually had several students run from the chapters that hosted an event like this. So I think it was about 3 or 4 schools and they got together and they planned an event. It was one evening and we were able to send about 4 state officers down there and they talked to them about running for state office, about tips for the application. What do you do as a state officer? What is the time commitment? How do you campaign? What's the best way to do this? Is this allowed? All of the kind of ins and outs of being a state officer from the very beginning of running to screening to campaigning and then to actually doing the job. So if you're interested in that, I would encourage you to get together with some of the chapters in your area, or if you're doing it virtually, get together with just several chapters and invite the state officers and they can do a Q&A. Okay, questions about November? Okay, we'll move on to December. Okay, so if you have a state officer running or a state officer candidate running, you'll need to submit your application in December. Remember that it's due December 1st this year. Start planning out your competitions and when your teams are going to practice. You know, are you just going to be able to have practice times during the school day? If you're back at school, are you going to be able to stay after school to have practice times? Just start talking to your school and what's going to be allowed. I know December is a far ways off as far as scheduling, especially this year. But once it gets closer, start looking at when your teams can practice. You want to provide them times to do that, or at least make sure they're comfortable scheduling their own practices. So start looking at that. Make sure you hold a meeting or a social this month. Start planning logistics for SLC. So if you are attending SLC, check out when the hotel deadline is. Start looking at the cost for the hotel that you're looking at. We typically have 3 conference hotels. They're all listed on the website so you can see what rates they're charging. Their phone numbers are there. Know that by the end of December, sometimes my conference hotel, the Hyatt Regency, is completely sold out. When I went to go tour the Hyatt last year in August, our coordinator already had a school that had blocked out some rooms. So know that our veteran advisors who want to stay at the conference hotel are already planning. So if you want to stay at the conference hotel, I encourage you to start doing it early. Think about it in December. Start talking about to your school about transportation. It is a longer conference, so it's not just one day. If you have to spend the night twice, then it would be like a 2.5-day conference. Otherwise, it's competition one day and an awards and leadership workshops the second day, and they're full days. So start planning for that, just all of the logistics involved. And then let your students start taking the practice tests on CTU. Again, if you cannot access those, send me an email, and it's really quick. We can get you access immediately almost. Okay, so if you're an overachiever in December, so start submitting your BPA Cares applications. It's always good to start submitting things early if you can, then you don't have to worry about it. And I would encourage you to do these things a little bit early if you can, so that you're not worried about meeting those deadlines while your students are working through SLC. January and February get so busy that if you can get stuff done ahead of that time, it's going to make your life a little bit simpler. Okay, you can also nominate your colleagues and your students for the SLC awards. So things like Advisor of the Year, the Member of the Year award. things like that. Those are forms on the Oklahoma BPA website, and they'll be linked on the state leadership conference page. So you can start submitting for those. This is our second year to accept applications for those, so it's really special. We hope to have a lot of nominations. Host an appreciation event for teachers at your school or for your advisory council. So while everyone's kind of in the holiday spirit, maybe you want to thank your advisory council for some of the work they've done this semester. Let your students host something for them. They get to know your students. They feel involved with your program and your chapter. All of that, you could do it for teachers at your school. This is just letting people know that BPA is at your school. They do good things in your community, and they're something that people should know about. Okay, and then participate in a community service project. Again, most of you are already doing that. Not only is it just a really good thing to be doing for your community, but you can also count those towards the BPA Cares and Torch Points, all of that. Okay, questions about December? Okay, we'll move on to January. Okay, so in January, you're going to start submitting your SLC registration, start collecting money for that, schedule your transportation and hotels, all of the things that you need to logistically plan for SLC. Start doing that in January. That way you can get it out of the way. Schedule times to assist students with competitions. Submit your torch applications ahead of the deadline. And this is so important, because if you submit your torch applications before the deadline and well before the deadline, then what we can do is we can provide you feedback so that you can correct any mistakes. If you submit them on the deadline, we can't allow you to correct those mistakes because you've submitted them on the deadline. But if they are submitted ahead of the deadline, we are more than happy to have our reviewers send them back to you to correct. And that way your students aren't losing points for things like grammatical errors, or maybe they miscategorize something or something like that. So let us help you by submitting your torch applications early. Fundraise for SLC, I'm sorry. So make sure you're following your school guidelines on fundraising, and depending on if you need to or not. Let your students take the practice tests. More practice is better. And then make sure you hold a meeting. Even though January is pretty busy, make sure you're holding your meeting to kind of talk about logistics for SLC and things like that. Okay, and if you're overachieving in January, you could set up some mock competition practices for your students. Maybe use your advisory council. You could bring in special business guests, things like that. You could use maybe teachers at your school. So just make sure that you're including people other than you who your students could practice with, because they can practice with you during their practice sessions and in class. So if you set up some extra sessions for them, that just gives them more feedback that they can then take to State Leadership Conference to do well. So start planning out BPA week activities. BPA week is in February. And so if you start planning your activities out in January, you can have, a really good slate of things to do, especially, as you're preparing for State Leadership Conference. It's kind of in the height of testing and things like that. So we have a lot, January and February are crazy busy in the BPA world. So the more planning you do, the better. And you, again, nominate your colleagues and students for the SLC awards. Those are on the Oklahoma BPA website. Questions about January? Okay. We'll move on to February. So in February, I would encourage you to submit your pre-submitted events. Look at the deadlines, make sure you know what's happening when, make sure you know what's happening with your event. So this is where looking at the Oklahoma WASSP guide is better than just looking at the national WASSP guide. So for SLC, only look at the Oklahoma WASSP guide, and we make sure we very clearly mark them on the website and on the documents themselves. This is going to tell you when to pre-submit and what events require a pre-submit. And when I say pre-submit, so let's take one that we changed last year, was prepared speech. At a national level, if your students go to nationals, they do not have to pre-submit their prepared speech competition. They just get to go and do it. At a state level, we changed it to a pre-submit because we were having a ton of entries, which is a great thing. However, scheduling wise, a State Leadership Conference was a bit tricky when you had 60 to 80 people trying to compete in one event. We had lots of finals rounds. It was a scheduling nightmare. So we voted to make it a pre-submit event. And what they do is they record their speech ahead of time, and they submit the speech on an online upload site, and we judge it for the top 10. And then the top 10 go to State Leadership Conference to present in person. And we have a lot of events that function like this. Website design, broadcast news, graphic design is a big one, and all this. So we're taking, the 20 to 30, upwards to 60 entries to these events, and we're narrowing them down to the top 10 through the technical scoring system. And Oklahoma does this because we are one of the only states that do not host a regional competition prior to State Leadership Conference. So we need a way to narrow down some of our competitions and who's competing in them. If you're testing online, so some competitions have online tests, then you will need to test online in February. You will only get to test online if we have your liaison's information. Now they can send it to me, the day before you need to test, but that's not preferred because that's going to stress people out. You're going to be waiting on me when you want to test immediately, that kind of thing. So if you do it in November, we can get that information to you early so that when you're ready to test, you can go ahead and test and you're not waiting on anybody else. But we'll send your testing liaisons all the passwords, the links, everything they need to help your students test online. They'll have my phone number, all of that, so they can contact me directly if there's issues, if we need to reset a test, if we need to look at a question, anything like that. If the internet goes down, we can look at that. Now, if everything goes virtual and we have to do a virtual SLC, everyone will get special instructions on what we'll be doing there as far as pre-submitted events and online testing. So don't worry about that. This is planning for in-person, so keep that in mind. Make sure you hold a meeting in February. Again, you can talk about BPA week, you can talk about SLC. There's a lot of different things that you could do in February. It doesn't have to be a long meeting, but try to meet monthly. Recognize BPA week. So even if you didn't have a ton of time to plan a whole slate of BPA week activities, go ahead and recognize BPA week. Let your students know that it's BPA week. Write something on the board, introduce it in class, play our promo video, something to kind of let them know that, BPA is here, that kind of thing. And that's in February, and you'll get the dates in the source and on the website, and we'll try to promote those as well. Okay, and then continue preparing for SLC. They'll be right around the corner at the beginning of March. Okay, go ahead. If you're an overachiever in February, you can host a BPA week full of fun and informative events for your members, school, and community. You could attend a civic meeting, you gain torch points that way, and coordinate to have a resolution created. We have several schools that do this, to declare it BPA week in your community. So there's several different ways that you can do this. I know you can just contact your board member, something like that, and they might be willing to write up a resolution. They may ask you to draft the language for the resolution, but it's kind of special for your students to have that done. Typically you get a signed copy from your community's mayor, declares it BPA week in your community. So it's something fun, something you can write a press release about, give it to your school, talk about that kind of thing. So brings attention to BPA in your community. And then something that your students can do is research the state officer candidates prior to conference. So we'll post things about them on the website, and that way your voting delegates can be a little prepared going into state conference before they see their campaign booths and hear their speeches. They can go ahead and meet those candidates prior to conference. Okay, questions about February? Okay, and moving on to March. So attend SLC, and I encourage you to attend all of SLC. You do not get the experience if you just come for competitions and don't come back the next day for awards or for our keynote and our leadership workshops. So I really encourage you all to attend all of SLC. It's truly rewarding for your chapter. It's a great bonding experience for your chapter. It's a great opportunity for your students, and it's just something really special. So please, if you can, try to attend everything to get the full experience that we've planned for you. After that, breathe, because you've made it through state conference. And that is a big feat. Most likely you have been going, super busy since December. So go ahead and breathe. After March, you get a little bit of a breath. If you are attending NLC, start planning. So know that we have one of the later state conferences. So some states have already started, booking their hotel rooms and things like that before we even have our state conference. So go ahead and start planning for NLC. Logistics, finances, hotels. Do you need to fundraise? Set up your sub that day if you need transportation to and from the airport. And that's in Oklahoma and in the location of NLC, those kind of things. Know that the NLC conference hotels sometimes go a little quickly. So if you wait until the very last minute to schedule your hotels, you may not get exactly what you want. So just try to be quick on all of these things as you can. Obviously, it is a lot of money, so that's typically what the holdup is. So we understand that. We try to work with you and help you out as kind of the go-between the local chapters and the national level, but start thinking about all of that right after State Leadership Conference. I know it's crazy. Make sure you hold a meeting for your chapter and just be, recognize that maybe not all of your chapter is going to NLC, so you might try to have some different things going on that isn't just NLC related. And then I would encourage you, if you are going to be attending NLC, that you make note of all of the national competition deadlines. Do they have pre-submits? When is the pre-submit deadline? When is the hotel deadline? When is registration due? When can I get a refund if a student cancels? That kind of thing. So make note of all of those deadlines. Okay, so if you're an overachiever in March, you might send a press release to your local media, so newspaper, TV, blog, to alert them of your conference experiences and successes. Bring some attention to your chapter. If you took a photo and have all the releases signed, then maybe you can include a photo so that your students can be in the newspaper or something like that. Plan to attend Be My Day at the Capitol. More information about that is usually released early in the spring, but plan to do that. And that is the Be My Teacher Division hosts that, but I know that the BPA and DECA members are typically welcome to attend. So more information on that if it is scheduled this year. Start planning out tours and activities in the NLC location. So NLC is usually in a fun place, and BPA would typically have some tours and activities that you can schedule through them, but you can also go and schedule your own. So you might start looking at that, the costs associated, what your students want to do, what's available, those kind of things. So this year being in Orlando, obviously there's plenty to do there. And BPA has some things that you can do. We are staying right in the Disney park, so that'll be really great. Our conference hotel is there, so transportation to and from Disney is not a problem this year. You can write thank you notes to those who have assisted you during your conference prep. So, if you did host the mock competitions, or if you had some people help you out at conference, if they brought your chapter lunch, or if they were a chaperone, something like that, you might write them some thank you notes. Host a fun chapter function to celebrate completing SLC. Your students worked really hard, and whether they made it to nationals or not, they did a really great thing by just going to SLC, putting themselves out there and competing or participating in Torch or running for state office or whatever they did to be able to go to State Leadership Conference is something to celebrate. So I would encourage you to host something for your chapter. Okay, questions about March? Okay. So April, start practice and fundraising for NLC, hold a meeting, plan and prepare for NLC if you're going. So, again, hopefully you've probably already booked your flights and hotel rooms and things like that, but start planning about what you're going to do, start talking to your students about how much money they need to bring for food and things like that. Usually in April, we're passing out, if we are able to give them, the stipend checks. So usually first place winners of individual events and team events will get some sort of a stipend to attend NLC. This year, we are able to work with last year's stipend money and this year's stipend money. So we have more money to be able to give out. And then check with your school and graduating seniors about BPA cords for their graduation ceremony. If you want those, they can be found at the BPA Mall, and that's something special that you can do for your graduating BPA seniors. Okay, so if you're an overachiever in April, I really would recommend, if you at all can, to complete your officer interviews and elections in the spring. That way, in August, you and your chapter can just go. You can start recruiting members, you have your program of work, you can start talking about FLC. You don't have to wait on all these things that you have to wait on to when you elect officers, because you already have them elected, and you can just start the year ready to go. So I would encourage you to do that in April, and start doing that in April or May, and have them elected before school lets out. You know, that way if there's some trainings in the summer they want to attend as a team, you could do team bonding in the summer. I just think it's going to help your chapter be stronger. Not all chapters can do that, and it's not a requirement, so don't feel like I'm saying that. But I do think it is helpful. Write a blog post about your year. You can submit that to me, and we can put it on the Oklahoma BPA website and highlight what your chapter has done this year. And you can do that anytime throughout the year. But we do see a lot in April where they want to highlight some of their community service projects, or how they did at competition, or special things that they did throughout the year. So know that if you do something that is really great throughout the year, let us know, and I'm happy to feature you all on the Oklahoma BPA website. You could host or co-host with another group at your school to plan activities and gifts for Teacher Appreciation Week, which is in May. So that's another way to let your school and community know that, hey, BPA is here and we care about teachers, we love teachers, all of that, and just give some good press for your BPA chapter. Okay, questions about April? Okay, we'll move on to May. And May, I know, is crazy. So especially if you're attending NLC, enjoy it. I encourage you to go to all of it that you can. It's a really fun, almost week of activities, lots of things to do, both at the conference and kind of off-site in the tours and activities area. So but after you get back from NLC, some schools let out almost immediately, some schools go another 20 days, so it's kind of hard to plan out what everyone in Oklahoma should be doing in May. But if you can, go ahead and celebrate Teacher Appreciation Week. If that's something that your students are doing, you can host an end of the year chapter event. If you're electing officers in the spring, go ahead and get your interviews and elections just out of the way, so that by the time school's done, you are finished. And you have your chapter ready to go in August. And then I would encourage you to track your chapter community service hours. I know those of you who were here last year remember us talking about that and how we'll be adding that form to the website. That's something we're still planning on doing. So be sure that you're keeping track of community service hours that you all do as a chapter throughout the year. Okay, and if you're overachieving in May, you know, you can host an officer installation ceremony if you want. You can invite a state officer. That's kind of taking officer elections to the next level to make it a little bit special. So if you want to do that and want a state officer there, let me know. If you need the installation script that BPA produces, let me know and I can send that to you as well. Evaluate, and I do think it is on the BPA website in the information library, and I will check on that. Evaluate the past year and make notes before summer break. So, you know, I know after every conference, our staff comes back and we do a debrief. What can we do better? How can we make next year's conference more meaningful for our members and advisors? You can do the same thing, and I encourage you to do it before summer break so that it doesn't just all float out of your mind in the excitement of a new school year in August. So, you know, write down what went well, what did not go well at all. What competitions are you going to avoid this next year, or things like that? What torch points were really hard to find, and what could you research for next year? So think about the whole year, take some time to reflect so that you can come back in your next year and be even better. Okay, are there any questions about May or any of kind of the to-do list for the calendar year?
Paxton?
Yes.
I would like to just insert one thing for them to keep in mind for all of the, I'll start my video here. I will, so for all the K-12 teachers, one of the things that we look at when we score the lottery grants is participation in BPA and participation in things like what you're doing today, any kind of professional development that's being offered by our division, Oklahoma Summit, all of those things. But participation by your chapter going to fall leadership and going to state leadership and having students compete. And we actually ask for a copy of your program of work and a list of your officers. And so those are things that actually go into scoring the rubric that we have for the lottery grants. And for those of you that aren't familiar with the lottery grants, those are technology grants that are offered. It's available to you every other year. You can't receive it 2 years in a row, but it's $15,000, up to $15,000. And we really encourage all K-12 to apply for those. But just keep that in mind. One of the things that we look at is BPA participation. So and then like the summit, professional development, that kind of thing. So just an FYI in there.
Thanks, Carrie. Okay, does anyone have questions about the lottery grants or anything that we've talked about even before we move on? I know it's a lot of information. I am going to put the PowerPoint out there as well, so you don't have to listen to the whole recording. You'll have the actual presentation that you can flip through. Okay, we will move on just a few more, and then we're just going to open it up for some Q&A, maybe some activities to go find some things, depending on how much time we have. Okay, so Oklahoma BPA competition. We really have something for everyone. And I know that I referenced the WASUP a lot. I used a lot of acronyms today, so hopefully I spelled all those out for you as needed. But the one that we get the most questions on is the WASUP, and that is the Workplace Skills Assessment Program. And it is your competition guide. So remember, it was released. You can access it from your membership gateway as advisors. If you have registered members, they can access it from their membership gateway if they're paid for members. So within that, you'll find all of our finance competitions, our business administration competitions, and management information systems, digital communication design, the management marketing communications, the health administration, and our mid-level. So be sure to look at that, start thumbing through it. Remember that Nationals is released. Oklahoma's will be released in about a month after some of our amazing advisors help me get that ready for you all. So start looking at those. The topics are out there. Start talking about your students about what they want to compete in, that kind of thing, so that they are ready to go and can do their very best at competition this year. Okay, and then I know that we've referenced this a few times, but these are some of the things that we recognize as quality chapter indicators. So, you have a chapter advisor, you appointed officers or elected officers, you have a paid membership, state and national. You have meetings. Remember to keep your minutes. That's how we know that you've had your meetings. You've made your program of work. We've talked about that a little bit. Remember, there is a blank one on the Oklahoma BPA website. And then business programs that you've attended, FLC or SLC. I would really love for you to attend both. I know that sometimes you can't. So make sure you're choosing which one you go to, and you need to attend one per school year. Okay, questions on any of those things? Okay, so just a reminder about the program of work for anyone who might be confused about that or have forgotten what it is. It's an action plan for the year. The one that we have on the website is like little blocks that are blocked out for each month. So you have a box for August, a box for December, all those where you can kind of plan out what you want to do throughout the year. You don't have to use the format that we have on the website. You don't have to sort it by month. You could sort it by week. You could sort it by quarter. However you want to do it. Just make sure that we just want to see that you have an action plan for the year, that you are looking ahead, that you have mapped out your goals, and you know what you want your chapter to do. I really do encourage you to complete it. If you don't complete it before FLC, to do it like shortly after, once your students are kind of pumped up at FLC and they're ready to go with BPA and they want to make the year the very best year they can. That sometimes is a really good time to either assess your program of work that you've already created or to finish it. And then it just keeps you and your officers focused on your goals and things like that. Questions on the program of work?
Paxton, I don't know if you saw earlier in the chat, it was suggested that Suzanne Silk might want to share the format that she uses for her program of work because it's really good. Put Suzanne on the spot here.
Suzanne, are you still here? Okay, perfect. Thanks, Suzanne. So, Suzanne, if you want to, I know you can share files in the Zoom chat, but you're also welcome to just email it to me, and I would be happy to share it out to those on the call today. And then we can also talk about if we want to put it on the advisor quick links, whatever you're comfortable with, Suzanne. Okay, perfect. So we will get something. Okay, she's going to email it to me, and I will send it out to you all especially, and make sure that you guys can get that. Thank you, Suzanne. Okay, so now it's your turn. I know I've talked about a few things about where are things and things like that. So if you can go to an internet browser of some sort, either, if you are on your phone or if you're on your computer, I'm going to stop sharing my presentation and I'm going to share my other screen. So, and if one of the first things that you can pull up on your screen is CTU, so that we can just walk through this together. And if you can't, you can watch my screen and I will walk you through how to find some of the things that we're talking about. So if you'll just go to ctu.org. And you'll need to log in. And we're going to find the monthly to-do list that I talked about. Let me pull up my chat just in case you guys are talking. Okay. So after you log in, I'll give you a few minutes or a few seconds to get there. Then you're going to scroll down here to our BMite page. And from there, you go to Teacher Academy. And there's lots of ways to get to this. I think you can also get to it through the teacher resources. But if you go to the 2020 Teacher Academy, it is right here, the monthly to-do list. So, and if you look at that, then it's just broken down by month. It is in order by year. You can see that we have just things for BMite. So we have crosswalks, a professional development form. It has DECA on here, so there's also BPA. This is kind of a for everybody in BMite kind of thing. So for BPA advisors, there's some things here. There's links. We have a handy dandy vocabulary area that kind of lets you know what we're talking about. And then down here, you can sort by month. So you can go directly to whatever month it is. And you can look and see what's kind of going on. We have, addresses and things like that that are easy to find. So this is just another resource for all of you to use if you need it. That kind of details out what you can do each year. I think the acronyms section is probably the best section of it. You can know what we're talking about because it can get confusing. Oh, there's a link for the source where you can find it. Very good. Okay, so that's the monthly to-do list. Does anyone have questions about finding the monthly to-do list or doesn't have access to something that they need access to on CTU? Okay, very good. So you guys should be able to find that then. So then if you want to go to the BPAOK.org website, that's our Oklahoma BPA website. And I put that in the chat in case you need it. So if you'll go there, the link that I have referenced so much is our advisors quick link section. And that is if you go to the information library tab right here, and you go to advisor quick links. This has so many resources that we have uploaded here for you. So you can see that we have our important dates section, that's the document that you typically are given at summer conference, and we email you and all of that. So that's linked right here. Your statement of assurance is here, our code of conduct, an example of program of work. I think this is a blank copy that you can just fill out. The SEC application will even be here. Right now it's linking to the old one. Remember, the new one we've talked about in a couple of other sessions will be released around FLC. So the chapter visit form, there's just so many things that are right here, and we've broken it down into Oklahoma BPA resources, national BPA resources, there's the new chapter handbook, and then all of the videos and presentations that I've been doing this year. I think we even have last year's summer conference presentation here as well. So just a ton of resources for you all. My goal with this is to make it a one-stop shop for you guys to find information. And this paired with the new membership gateway that National BPA is releasing, I hope will make your lives a little bit easier. And then Jackie just wanted to remind everyone that BPA is co-curricular, and that means that you can cover leadership activities with your students in your class, even if they're not state and national members. Okay, so that's the information library that I've kind of talked about. I know I mentioned the download center as well, and it's right here under the information library tab. And here I've tried to put, you know, you have the new BPA logos and tried to list out what they are so that you can download them here. You can also do it in the BPA gateway now. And we've kept kind of the old stuff here too. So if you're just wanting to look to see what was the state conference theme last year, FLC last year, it's all here. So you can download that. There's a presentation package here. We have the branding guidelines. So that's something else that we've offered on our website. And we'll talk about virtual resources. So if you can keep your tab open, go ahead and keep your tab open for the BPA website. I want to show you the membership gateway, and I will copy the link and put it in the chat. So this is the membership gateway that I know Mark and Patrick talked about in their session at summer conference. You've probably gotten a few emails about it from the BPA system. So, and this is what I'm talking about. They're able to give you all pop-ups here, and this is telling us that the WASP is ready to download. So I know a lot of advisors and students kind of wait for the day that the WASP is released. So this is here, you can access it. So you log in with your membership portal login. Your students will log in with their numbers. And when you first log in, you'll get to set up like a password and things like that. So you all are actually going to get to see more than what you typically do because I have the state advisor access. But as local advisors, you're going to have everything from here to the WASP Download Center and the Help Center. So you just won't have this tab. But you will have the local advisors tab. You will have the students tab, and you can see everything that your students get to see. So that's a really great thing. A lot of the times I know you all would call in and tell me, this is what I'm seeing in my membership site, and I would have to tell you, I can't see your screen. I have no idea what you're talking about. So now they've changed it. So I can see exactly what you guys are seeing. You can see what your students are seeing, so we can help each other out a little bit better. So if you go here, to your advisor site, you know, they've listed all the things that they think might help you out this year. You know, lots of information, Torch Awards, scholarships, National Leadership Conference. Here's BPA Cares, like I've talked about a little bit. Okay, and then right here, just because I've had some questions about it, we talked about it in our update session. If you do want to request a local chapter logo, you can do so right here. And they have the link, it's a form you can fill out, all of that. And then all of the webinars are right here for advisors. If you click on students, they have webinars in their section as well. So you can promote those to your students. Now, you all as advisors have access to this as advisors. So if you're the primary or secondary advisor for your chapter, you have access to this without having to submit membership, without having to pay, all of that, because we know that you will by the end of the year. Students, however, have to be paid submitted members. So this isn't just for any student in your class, this is for BPA members. So make sure the earlier that you submit students, the sooner they can take part in this membership gateway. The sooner they can download the webinars or participate, the sooner they can do the trainings and things like that. So that's a positive side, and something that you're getting that you haven't received in the past for the same membership dollars. So in reading from the chat, Carrie wants to remind all of you to treat all of your students as if they were local BPA members. If they're in your class, they are a member of BPA, and that helps keep BPA co-curricular. And that's something, if it is a webinar that everyone can watch, you can show it from, on the overhead or share your screen if you're virtual, that kind of thing. And Jackie wants to remind, webinars and advisor series are very helpful and well worth the time. And I would definitely agree. And I know they're changing them up this year so that they respect your time a little bit more, and so that they're a little more flexible. You don't have to watch the live version. Everything's going to be pushed to download. So you can log on and do all of the activities, and you can do them without having to complete all of the quizzes and chats. That is only if you want to receive the certification, which if you're doing the work, you might as well receive the recognition, and that's good for Oklahoma as well. But I completely get it that things get busy and that you just want to watch them here and there. So you have some options there. So this is the new member gateway. Please check it out. Please encourage your students to check it out. This is huge for BPA this year. It used to be that everything was in a different place. You had to click on several different websites to get where you wanted. So now that they've housed it all in one nice place, it's an amazing resource for you and for your members. Okay, the other place that I wanted to show you is the Oklahoma BMIT YouTube channel. So you hear us referencing this a lot. And you hear us saying, well, we'll upload this presentation to the YouTube channel, and we do. So we have a ton of videos on here. If you go to the playlist section, this video will be downloaded to both the New Teacher Academy playlist and the Oklahoma BPA playlist, so you can check those out. And in BPA right now, we have things from officer introductions to the sessions we've already been doing. We have the video about the affiliation fee. And we have our promo video for FLC and things like that. So we'll be downloading things like this throughout the year so that you can find it. Yes, so Kathy's asked if I can talk about the acronyms again and where you can see what the acronyms mean. So if you go over in CTU, and there may be a better place, correct me if I'm wrong, Jackie and Carrie, but in the monthly calendar, there is a vocabulary section. So, and how you get to the monthly calendar is click on BMIT when you log in, click on New Teacher Academy, and then click on the 2020 Teacher Academy, and then go to the monthly to-do list. So that's kind of the pathway. And it's on my presentation as well. But right here, you can see some of the acronyms that we're giving. And each month has different ones that are specific to what's going on that month.
Paxton, you
Yes.
said that really fast, and if you would scroll to the top of this page, you could kind of
Oh,
show them the breadcrumb there.
Thank you, Carrie. Perfect. So, and if you ever have questions about what something means, don't feel silly sending an email or even calling. We know that there's a lot of acronyms that we toss around. So if it's something in an email or anything like that, just let us know. We're happy to explain what it is. We would rather you know what's going on and what we're talking about than to be confused. So don't feel silly doing that at all. Oh, thanks, Jackie. She's linked to a career tech dictionary that has all of the acronyms. Okay, perfect. So I am going to stop sharing the browser and go back to the presentation. While I'm doing that, does anyone have any questions that I can answer right now? We have just a few more things to talk about. Okay, so, and these are things that, these are not new things. It's probably things that you've seen before that I've talked about in some other presentations. But I do want you guys to know that this year we are providing a lot of virtual opportunities. And I'll actually take you to the virtual page. of the BPA website. And so right now our state officers are finalizing some activities to put on the virtual page. You'll be seeing them later this week. So let me fix this. Okay, so when you get here, it kind of has a little intro. We've broken it down into member resources and advisor resources. And so if you go here, you'll be able to see kind of what we're going to be uploading. So we'll have a virtual scavenger hunt. We have a poster to download. We'll have some virtual chapter activities, how to translate what you do on site to a virtual setting, things like that. So the officers will be doing a Q&A every third Sunday of the month. The information on how to join that will be here, that kind of thing. And then for you all, we have links that you may need. Trainings that we've done, and yes, there are other places of the website too, but this way you can find them in multiple places, make it really easy. We're also adding some virtual backgrounds that your students can use to make things fun. If you're doing a meeting, maybe you have everyone use their favorite virtual background or create their own, or you know, maybe everyone's the same, so you can take a fun picture. So you can have fun with that kind of thing. So this is the virtual resources page. I expect it to continue to grow all year long. So be checking back. It definitely is the live page. It's not going to just be this stuff and that's it. So check back. If you're thinking of something, let me know and maybe we can put it together, because chances are if you're thinking of it, someone else is as well. Coming from the chat, Twyla Gable asks, is it uncommon for only officers to go to FLC or all affiliated? So it's not. A lot of chapters do it differently. So some will just send officers. Some will let whatever students want to go and can pay go. Some send, you know, members that have, you know, there's one school that sends seniors. So it kind of varies from school to school. And as the local chapter advisor, you get to choose who goes, what your school can handle, who can pay, that kind of thing. And like I said, this year I actually have a school who is sending all of their students, and it's just, that's what they're going to do that day. Is all of their students from all of their classes are going to do FLC. So that's really awesome because it is so leadership based this year. So hopefully, Twyla, that answers your question. If not, just let me know and I can expand. And while we're here, we can talk about FLC a little bit too. Okay, so this is the FLC page. We do have the promo video here that you guys can watch. This is the link right here to register for FLC, so you can see it. We have our event details with our keynote speaker. Our schedule is here. We've tried to be very detailed so you know when your breaks are, your lunch, all of that. There is a breakdown of what you're getting in your registration kit here. For the $30. So if you register before September 10th, you can get that. That is there. And we have information about the extra event that will be happening. And we'll be sending links and things like that to everyone who registers. So when you do register, it's important that you're putting in a unique email address for all of your attendees. That way they can get their unique login. So if you just if you don't know a student's email address, you know, I would encourage you to get the email address before submitting your FLC. Otherwise, if you just put in a fake one or yours, that student isn't going to be able to log into the conference. So make sure that each student has a unique email address. It's a little bit more work on the registration side, but it'll make day of conference a little bit easier for everyone. Okay, so we have some questions and answers here. Who can attend? Where is it? Remember, it's virtual. It's on October 5th, that kind of thing. What's included in your registration? We have links to Chain of Love here. The pin design contest. We'll be updating the conference dress code because even though it is virtual, we definitely still want people to be dressed appropriately and things like that. So we're gonna make this a little bit more fun. Right now, it's still the physical conference dress code, so don't panic when you see it. So that's the FLC website. You can go there and find that. And I know I've talked about it a lot in some other presentations, so I won't spend too much time on it today. Okay, any questions about the virtual page or the FLC page? In the chat, Jackie wants to remind everyone that this year for FLC is so much less expensive because there is no travel or hotel costs, and it is an opportunity to include more students. So we keep talking about it being a one-fee conference, and that's what's really special about it being virtual this year. And a positive side to that is that you don't have to worry about all those other costs. You just have to pay for their membership. They're getting a lot of stuff for that $30. And honestly, it's going to be a fantastic conference with a lot of quality materials for both advisors and students. Okay, so the virtual resources page, we've talked about that. Just remember that it is there for you. It's right there on the BPA website next to the information library. And just remember to keep checking back. So if there's something not on there, send me an email. Maybe I'm working on it. Maybe we can get it finished, that kind of thing. But also just check back, because we're going to be adding things to the site all year long. Okay, virtual chapter visits. We've talked about that a little bit. I've shown you where the form is. If you want a state officer to come visit your chapter in any way, if it's a fun thing, if it is a recruitment type event, if it's an officer installation or court ceremony, let our officers help you out. They would love to come visit you. You might get more than one. If you want more than one, we can definitely set that up. So just let me know what you're interested in. Okay, the virtual office hours are every Wednesday, sorry, from 3:45 to 4:45 via Zoom, with the exception of days like today on Wednesday when I'm hosting a training or we're doing a conference or something like that. So that information is on the virtual resources page. You can find the Zoom code and password through a link and a document there to protect it a little bit. So it's there for you if you want to log into those. It's very casual. You can log on, ask me a question if you need to. You can log on with another advisor and go to a breakout room and talk. It's meant to be a resource for you. Okay, and then chapter planning. I've had a couple advisors take me up on this. And if you want some one-on-one help to help make your chapter thrive this year with your how your chapter is unique and your school policies and what your chapter is doing this year especially, let me know. I'm happy to set up a time to talk to you so that we can walk through, even if maybe competition isn't the best way for your chapter to thrive, maybe it just doesn't work with your setup. Maybe we can find some open events that you could do, or a torch, or a way that your chapter can be very successful in their own way. So let me know if you're interested in that. Again, I do encourage you to follow us on all of the social media accounts. Our officer teams work really hard on making sure that you all stay informed. We often will share things from the national site, so you can follow them to not miss anything. And then I just want to put in a plug for Fall Leadership Conference again. So it is October 5th, $30. You're getting just so much opportunity. And our BPA and DECA teams have put in so much work for this conference. So I hope to see you all next at the October 5th conference. And that is actually all I have slide-wise. So now we can just have questions and answers and things like that. So whatever you need, I can help answer questions.
Paxton, I was going to just share, this is Jackie. I guess I could take off, show the video. That this session it counts not only for our new teachers, but also for those of you if you haven't finished your Oklahoma Summit. So make sure you're finishing that up, and I do appreciate your doing that for us for Oklahoma Summit.
Thanks, Jackie. Let's see. Any other questions? Okay, well, if there, I'll stick around until the last person leaves. So if there are no other questions, then we'll go ahead and we'll stop recording, and I'll see you guys hopefully on October 5th. So thank you guys for joining us today. Thank you for all of the chat discussion and questions and things like that. Thank you all. I appreciate you.